Hi, this is Claude Oliver, President of Tri-Cities Realty Group. We have an exciting series of programs that are going to be coming up for you. Youth Empowered Solutions, the drama, the serious parts, the sad parts, and the fun parts. It's a whole collage of life and things that go on in our communities every day. I was getting a haircut in mid-September, and my hairstylist said, "Would you talk to my coworker in the chair next to me?" And I said, "Well, sure. What's the concern?" She said her son needs some help, and so we talked and discovered that he was having trouble in school. Grades were failing, starting marijuana, starting alcohol, lying, running with some difficult kids that were also in trouble, and you know, the whole level of single parent, head of household, trying to make ends meet, working 2 jobs, that's too common today. Many of you listening to this may have lived these experiences yourself. And so I thought, well, I'll just make a phone call a friend, Lionel Singleton, who heads up the After School Matters program, Eastgate and Park Middle. We'll get some help. I called up Lionel, and Lionel says, my program doesn't start until November. Oh my gosh, this is mid-September. And we got a kid at risk, needing help now, and we can't get to them until November. So that touched off a whole series of events. I started calling around some of my friends and contacts in the community, may have called some of you out there, and we ended up finding there were a lot of holes in the young population areas, schools and other levels. Tremendous people working with kids and doing what they could do, but the disintegration of the family, methamphetamine, substance abuse, alcohol, incarceration goes on and on today to an absolute catastrophic level of national, it's a national alarm. Now really what should be much more highly thought of and addressed than it currently is. So we ended up getting a few of us together on the sidewalk at the Columbia Center Mall at Starbucks, and we talked amongst ourselves. I'm going to introduce you to one of the friends that I have made through this experience, Chris Snapp. Chris Snapp was recommended by Sandra Hill at the Pasco School District that I get in touch with him on this issue. I did, along with Tim Sullivan, who is an outstanding troubleshooter for special projects for Ms. Hill at the Pasco School District. And so a group of us, Randy Rutledge, Kevin Kennedy, and Daryl Francis, and C.A. Hurst, and I'm going to forget somebody so you guys can shoot me later, but we got around the table at Starbucks and we started talking, and we discovered the problem was widespread. It was huge, but everybody around that table was not a quitter. Everybody around that table said, we're going to do something, and everybody around that table has contributed immensely to launch Youth Empowered Solutions. We didn't know that's the name at the time, but we've now named it Youth Empowered Solutions, yes. And we got to remember, kids are not the problem. Kids are the solution. And so this led me to a whole new slant on life at looking at these issues and people in those situations. Chris has got a special story. Chris has formed an organization called Cushions, and he went through some very serious things in his life to help make that a reality and where he is today. Chris, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Would you please share with people a little your essence and your background and why you're doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, I sure can. A lot of you may or may not know that my son Joshua Snapp was murdered on July 4th of 2013. I was in a similar situation as the mother that you referred to with her son years ago with Josh, and I felt very powerless, like she does and or did in regards to her son and how she could help. My son had come back to me just before his murder, ready for me to help him, and unfortunately, tragically, that opportunity was lost for me. At that point in time, I decided that I was going to do everything I could to help every other kid out there that was in a situation that matched, you know, what my kid, what this kid were going through. And so I've made it my goal and my life's effort at this point in time to help these kids out there that are lost and in trouble.
Well, you step into a big challenge. You're up for it. And I heard you remark in one of our meetings, you know, something about your faith and what you're doing to bedrock your faith and finding more strength in God, through God, than perhaps what you knew before.
Well, God has definitely been blessing my efforts, making connections throughout the community that I never would have had before, finding out that they're all related in somehow or fashion. You know, I see him actively working to guide what's going on with my project and with the multiple projects that have kind of come together through Yes Network and some new concepts, ideas that maybe weren't understood before on collaborative efforts and that type of thing, and how we can all come together and really help the kids out there. That's the important thing, is that everybody is actively trying to do something.
So you're a hardworking guy, doing what you can do just to get on with the American dream, and suddenly so much is shattered with the loss of Joshua. And so now you've stepped into a new role. And why did you form Cushions?
Well, Cushions was my attempt, first off, to help the kids that were out there in our community, because through the trials and the loss and everything tragic that happened, I became painfully aware that there was a whole bunch of kids out there in our community that didn't have a warm place to stay at night. They were out there looking for food. They were sleeping in their cars. Just a multitude of things that are problems, you know, in the lives of, or in the ways of them being successful. And so I knew that I had to do something to try to help. In my grieving, I instead of sitting there and crying all day, like I did at the start, I decided I was going to take action. And so I started looking into nonprofits, how to get them going. You know, talk about being blessed and feeling blessed. I went through the whole process of getting my nonprofit started, which took roughly about 5 months, I think. Typically, when you see somebody trying to start a nonprofit, there's a lot of stuff in the way. You know, that's why I have to feel that it was blessed, because, you know, that process went quick and easy for me. And it really shows me that, you know, there's a power greater than me behind this project. So.
Yeah, amen. So you've got a board, got your paperwork filed, and so now you're doing stuff with kids. What are you doing with the kids?
We are trying to engage the kids. That's one of the things that we can do at this point in time, and it's hard to do that because kids are kind of out there all over the place. So our goal is to find them and engage them. One of the things that we did late last year, before winter set in on us, is we got all the paperwork we needed in place to go down and have a show at the Richland skate park. We knew them kids down there were hungry. Winter was coming up fast, and so it was getting cold, and so we brought down 23 pizzas and gave away pizzas. We served them hot cocoa. And we had some bands down there playing music for them. Richland Skate Park has been kind of a known problem area amongst us parents that are raising kids over here in Richland. And so we wanted to show an adult presence and let them kids down there know that we were thinking about them and that we cared. At the same time, we asked them kids, you know, we had questionnaires out there, and we asked them kids what they needed to be successful. As you stated in the opening of this program, we do believe that kids are the solution. A lot of these kids, because of the disintegration in the family, don't really have a direction to go anymore. They're not being guided in the way that maybe you were guided or I was guided. And so we want to ask them kids what they need to be successful, and then we want to help facilitate what they're saying they need. One of our goals as Cushions is to have a facility that is run by the kids and operated by the kids. They would work closely with our board in determining what programs and projects we would take on, because if you can't get the kids involved, then they're just not going to show up. And so that's why it's so important that they have, you know, firsthand decision-making ability within what we're trying to do. So.
Well, that's awesome. And, you know, the level is your new comfort zone because things are happening and you're looking for God's direction as to what to happen. And then you meet this former county commissioner guy sitting down at the Starbucks sidewalk with you with a bunch of other guys that are saying, we can take this on, you know, and so there's a whole new dimension. And I've just felt God's presence every step of the way in terms of what I struck out on in the initial search, in terms of where we are now, moving this project forward. I did have a Bible packing, praying mom and dad, you know, and God bless them, they're now departed to heaven. But, you know, so I had some real good guidance. When I look at some of these kids and the issues they're going through, some of you, please don't prejudge them. And it's so easy to do. Well, if they would just, you know, their moms and dads may go off on a meth high, third or fourth husband or wife, and absolutely for 2 weeks, they don't know where they are. They don't know if they've even got any kids in the house. And in that process, do the kids even eat? Do the kids go to school? And so the kid in that situation is the victim. I mean, and so we find this over and over and over again. And a lot of the kids, they just want someplace safe they can go to hang out and not worried about getting beat up or battered or bruised or sexually abused. And so there's a dimension there that's huge, screaming for help. And this process is really about getting those lifelines into those kids through organizing some of the connectors in the community. You imagine yourself a school teacher and you've got 30 kids in your classroom and 22 kids are good, doing okay, other 8 kids at risk. All of those situations, dropping out of school, failing in grades, how much time can that teacher devote to a battered, bruised family situation and get her job done for the other 22? And so too many times I hear people criticizing, oh, those test scores are terrible if we had good teachers. I'm sorry. Wake up. That is absolutely so untrue in terms of realities and what's going on. And so we have to applaud you for stepping up and joining our party. And it is a yes party because, you know, we're going to have lots of fun events for the kids. And that's the opportunity. We're getting them on the track to have an opportunity in life. And this is the exciting dimension. So what are your future plans? What are we going to help you happen in the near future? Some of the things you're working on.
One of the things that's really important to what we're doing is that everything that we do is family friendly and it's free to the kids, because a lot of these kids, you know, most of them are at risk. So they're not necessarily walking around with $10 in their hand because they've been sleeping in their car and they don't have a job to do anything. So everything that we do is free and free for the kids, I should say. There's some cost that's associated with us maybe getting into facilities or offering the free pizzas, you know, paying for electricity, insurance costs, that kind of stuff. So like any other nonprofit, we're always out there looking for somebody that can help us along a little bit. But more importantly, you know, we want to be working with the kids directly right now. I can tell you that here in the middle of February, we're going to do another outreach program, and we're going to get some bands together. We're going to work with some other friends that I actually met through you, get some art projects going on at the same time. Kind of have an open mic where kids that haven't necessarily been up on stage and you know, got to feel the lights on their face, we're going to have a opportunity to come play a couple songs and get some experience. It's really open to anybody and everybody that wants to share in doing something positive. And then through the connections I met with you, we've got another deal coming up later in April, working directly with the folks in Benton City that have embraced Yes Network. And I want to make that a point. Benton City has embraced Yes Network. They have said, yes, we want to help our kids, and that's why we're actively working with them. And I think that's a great deal, and I think that's what the rest of our community needs to do, is they need to say, yes, we're going to step up and help these kids. Because there's a lot of kids. I've heard story after story of kids camping out in canyons, camping out on top of buildings where there's a little heat source coming from AC units that are on top of the buildings, or heat units on top of the buildings. You hear story after story after story of these kids that are out there in our community with no place to go and nothing positive going on in their life. The last number I heard, which was, it kind of knocked me back in my seat, was that we have 2,300 homeless kids in the Tri-Cities. That's a huge number, and then when you start looking at the cost of those kids as they impact our community in a negative manner, I think the number I saw over a lifetime for one of those kids is about $150,000. Well, you start looking at 2,300 times 150,000, and the problem is, if we don't help them now, it creates a burden on our society for the rest of their lives. You know, and so the thing is, we can be proactive right now, and we can get in and we can make a difference now. That's going to affect their lives in a positive manner. But then it affects the whole entire community in a positive manner from that point.
Those numbers are just staggering when you really add them up, and you realize, well, there's a solution: more police, bigger jails, and we have tremendous friends in the criminal justice system fully supporting what we're doing. And so it's not a knock on them. It's just, at this point, society is giving that as a solution when in fact it's half of a solution. The real solution is going back to the kids, working with them, getting them on the right track to get education, to get stabilized, to have a chance to get going. But it's a staggering number for the total cost if we just right on into the criminal justice system with those individuals. And it's a huge challenge that we would get them on a track to have other options in their life. I'm really glad that you mentioned that. That issue is very significant.
It's important, and it's becoming more and more obvious just how important it is that we try to take a proactive approach. And that is what Cushions is the principles behind Cushions is being proactive. I don't know a whole lot about running a 501c3, but I know that I am dedicated to the process, and there's processes involved in being proactive, and those are the processes that we are dedicated to.
Had you ever served on a 501c3 before this experience in your life?
I had not.
Wow.
And to be quite honest with you, it's very challenging. You need to learn how to first off handle the financial, the IRS aspect of it, and then in addition to that, you need to learn how to manage a board, which is a whole new concept for me. But I am being guided in that process, and I appreciate that, because that's what I need.
Amen. Good job. Good job. I want to comment on another statistic. Todd Kleppen, Youth Ignite mentors, between him and Art King and Phil Lemley, we have had our eyes open. How many kids do you really need to have mentors for, and what would that mentor total be? Do you recall any of those?
I think the initial number that Todd had thrown out for our group was about 300 mentors that he could use right now. He had kids lined up that wanted mentors in their lives. And the problem is, you can't find enough adults to go and do that. That was the initial number that he threw out, and then I think I saw an email after that maybe said 1,000 or 1,500 that they could use. The facts are that there's a bunch of kids out there that need our help. I was talking with another lady the other day too. This kind of reminds me of that. She said, my kid, he's a pretty good kid, but occasionally he needs somebody else to listen to. And so it's important that we as parents and adults interact together and allow ourselves and our community to work with all the kids, not just the ones who are at risk, because potentially anything could happen and tomorrow your kid is all of a sudden at risk. So it's important that we develop these parent-child networks as a whole so that our youth feel comfortable talking, with different adults in their life that can make a difference.
Yeah, that statistic, 300 was the initial number that Todd dropped on us. But he said, if we really went beyond what we absolutely need right now, it's over 1,000. Yeah. And look at the populations, Benton, Franklin County, Burbank, and you added up 1,000 mentors needed here, and those are needed to fill gaps. So you can imagine what's filling the gaps if we don't have mentors encouraging, coaching, counseling kids. I had one of my good friends at Rotary step up and say, okay, what could I do if I stepped into a role of mentoring? Okay, we will get, number one, anyone going in the program has to be cleared, not a sexual offender or any capacities like that. Getting that clearance, we will get training for individuals to go into mentoring and get you assigned with a youth, a young boy or young girl that need counseling in a various coaching capacity so that you can help change someone's life. It's so huge and such a huge gap that's out there. Many times as we sit in the comfort of our home, we don't think these things are there. They are. They're screaming for help. And at Benton City, which I'm glad you mentioned, we have a faith council coalition out there which encompasses all religious beliefs and walks. So we will be working back with that council to get kids matched up with mentors that match up with their faith and practices of worship. So that challenge is huge. Well, what have you learned so far about the community collaboration? Are there opportunities to bring things together?
There definitely are. The more people we talk to, everybody is aware of what's going on in the community. They see how the family is falling apart throughout our communities, and they see how the kids are getting lost in the cycle. I'm just amazed by the folks in Benton City and how they have embraced wanting to help the kids in their area. The actions that are being taken out there to find a way to make this work is a huge learning lesson for me. I mean, I'm learning processes that I had no idea were even out there at this point in time. But I'm also seeing how people can come together, support each other, encourage each other, when you hit them slippery spots, people keep lifting you up and encouraging you to keep going, keep going, keep going. Because that's what it takes, And with the whole community working together, saying keep going, keep going, keep going, because all these little lives matter, that's powerful. That's powerful. There for a while, I lost a little faith in humanity. I thought this was just a wicked, wicked world we lived in, and that's the way it was going to be. So to see people stepping up to help each other and help the little ones out there that need our help is amazing. I am amazed.
I applaud the fact, and thank you, it is. It absolutely is. I've got to give total affirmation to that. You went around and talked with the school superintendents, one of whom was Sandra Hill from Pasco. She remembered that. What motivated you to go around and talk to the school superintendents? I
was approached by one of my board members at one point in time. She said, you ought to look at a steering committee. And I said, that's a great idea, without really understanding what that meant at the time. But that's when I started to grab onto the idea that the kids are the solution. If I can't engage the kids, if we can't engage the kids, then they're lost, But if we allow them the power, if we empower them kids to help make some of the decisions that impact their lives on a positive level, then they're going to be interested, they're going to be involved, they're going to own it, they're going to make it theirs, and they're going to be excited about it. And that's what we need. We need to excite these kids to do something different than following in the footsteps of some of their parents that have gotten stuck in the drug life and the different things that that we see out there in the community, the legal stuff that they're involved in and that kind of thing, and really the kids getting lost beyond that point. So the idea is get the kids excited, get them excited about projects, and then find a way to facilitate what they're excited about. You know, one thing about cushions, we were donated an old 1960 Chevy truck. It was actually a truck that I sat in when I was a 4-year-old. It's part of my family history, part of my family legacy. And owned by an old guy that lived next to my grandparents that embraced me when I was a kid. This truck has been donated as a project truck for the kids to work on, for them to restore, for them to leave a permanent mark on something historic, you know, with some historic value, and then they can come back years later and say, this is the truck I helped work on. That we will be taking to all the car shows and showing just what Cushions and the kids associated with Cushions and Yes Network are capable of doing, and will do if you give them the opportunity to do that. That's just one of the projects, you know, that we want to help facilitate.
That's totally awesome. There's so many things coming to life like that. Cos Edwards at WorkSource is looking at employment opportunities. We'll be sharing more about the grant application that we're going for and how that connects back with what we're doing. With or without any grant coming in, we're going to do this project. And Benton City as our home, they've embraced us, and we're going to do this project. This is really exciting in terms of challenges that we faced and what we've been able to do with them going through this process. I've had to change some of the thinking. A lot of the thinking, frankly, I had in terms of kids' discipline. I had the idea that you could have a bully and just sit them down and say, okay, you've done that before, but you're not going to do it anymore. Case open, case closed. And then Kate Wright, our intern, said, Claude, you don't do that. You don't do that. I said, well, tell me what you're saying. That kid is acting up from something going on in their lives. It's more important that the time be devoted to find out what's going in that boy or girl's lives rather than just confront them into a I'm in control, you're not situation. And then go after the issue in that person's home. Something's going on. And you know, find those issues and address them intelligently, build bridges, and then get them back to that track in life that we're working through this network and Youth Empowered Solutions to give everybody a better opportunity to succeed in life. Bottom line, thank you for what you're doing and you're all about. I really have grown to appreciate you so much for you stepping up and stepping out and not staying at home in your comfort box. We're going to wrap. Thank you. Get involved. You're going to have more information on how to do that. We need your help. This community is alive and prospering, but only if we get out of our chairs and make sure we're going to be willing to participate and help make it happen. Thanks very much. Take care and have a great day. God bless you.